The following is a presentation from PokerStars.com. Previously on the big game, loose cannon Andre Capella had no luck.
You're gonna suck out on me again.
Andre couldn't catch cards, and Phil told the table he was coming hard.
Raise it up, boys.
Then backed it up.
55. Speed limit, baby.
Really? You want to raise the max?
Yeah.
How come you do that?
I want to charge him.
He's the table's big winner so far. Will Phil's hot run continue tonight?
You know, if you were the big winner in this game, that's going to make headlines.
Oh, my
Phil
God.
Hellmuth beats online punks.
Find out next.
This is the PokerStars.com Big Game.
Welcome once again to the big game from Las Vegas, Nevada. Alongside Joe Stapleton, I'm Chris Rose. And tonight, some of the best players in the world have gathered in our state-of-the-art poker room with more than $750,000 on the table.
Kid Poker, Daniel Negreanu, he's been up, he's been down, and at the moment, he's in the black 700.
Eugene Katchalov, born in the Ukraine, raised in Brooklyn, New York. He is up over 50,000.
Prahlad Friedman is a vegan, and he's seeing a little extra green so far. He's up 5,800.
The youngest gun at the table is Dani Stern. He's been having a tough run so far this week, out nearly 58,000.
Staked 100 grand to play. Our loose cannon is 76-year-old Andre Capella, former race car driver and gold miner. He's going to need more than a pickaxe to dig his way out of this hole, down 56K.
And the empty spot belongs to cash game specialist, at least this week, Phil Hellmuth. He's with Amanda Leatherman.
Phil Hellmuth, you are not a young gun anymore, but you're playing with a few of them. Think you can keep up?
Life is good. I mean, look, the young guns, I have a lot of respect for them, but there's some tricks that I've been using for like 20-some years that they really haven't seen in the real world.
Well, I hope we hear some more banter between you guys today. I want it to be fun. Come on.
You know
Pick
it's
it
going to
up.
be fun, but I mean, I like the banter to kind of like, the banter, just like chips, should just fall in natural sequence. And when I'm playing in these things, sometimes I'm quiet for a show, but rarely. But Daniel and I will always have a little something. I mean, he's throwing punches at me, and I'm ducking and throwing punches back, and it's good.
All right, we'll get out there and get them, all right?
All right.
Once again, here are your rules. Each loose cannon's been staked 100 grand to play and keeps all winnings above the initial 100,000. The loose cannon who's won the most money at season's end earns a North American Poker Tour passport worth $50,000.
Andre's chasing the benchmark set by loose cannon Nadia Magnus, who is our current leader for that NAPT passport. She walked away from the big game up over $63,000.
Andre has quite the big hill to climb as he stares down some of the world's best.
Gotta wonder what's going through his head right now.
We pick up the night, starting with hand 62 out of 150. Dani Stern, pocket fives, are raised to 1,500. Eugene Katchalov folds. Jack 4 for Daniel. He's out. Big slick for the big man, raised to 5,500.
Phil's continuing to display his more aggressive pre-flop style we've seen this week.
Andre looking at 10-3 suited and calling.
Another four then?
I think the wheels may have finally come off Andre's race car.
Dani calls with his pocket pair.
We can honestly say this is the first loose cannon who's playing like it's not his money.
First flop of the night. Queen, queen, 8, 2 spades. Hellmuth checks. Andre checks.
Everybody's missed, which means Donnie's pair of fives is best. He's looking at a continuation bet, even though this is going to be the best hand a decent percentage of the time.
Dani makes it 8,500.
So far this week, Phil's had a hard time laying down ace high on the flop, especially to Dani.
How deep are you?
A little less than 100 to start the hand.
Donnie's into the big game for over 150K, so he's still down over 50.
Phil calls. Andre folds.
Dani actually doesn't look very strong, which is surprising because his hand isn't strong enough for him to be trying to look weak on purpose.
6 of spades on the turn, giving Hellmuth the nut flush draw, and he checks.
At this point, both players probably will want to just have a cheap showdown.
There's the check by Dani. The river, the 7 of diamonds.
Phil still only got ace high.
Hellmuth checks.
Looks like Dani's struggling with thoughts of value betting his 5s. He has to wonder what worse hands will call him.
Stern checks.
Ace king.
And Stern wins a pot of more than 34 grand.
Pretty good check there.
Wait for it. Wait for it.
Damn son of a...
This is my favorite part.
He had a lot of outs there. Same.
I think you could have bluffed him too. I think
Of course
Daniel's
I
gonna
could have
fold.
bluffed
If you
him,
bet
but-
the river, you're gonna fold, right, Dani?
He called the river.
If he bet
for sure.
if he bet $2,200,
I would have raised.
he could have bet 2,200, I think.
Yeah.
You guys are never smart enough to raise the right amount.
There we go. That's what I'm talking about.
Man.
That's just Phil's way of saying, nice hand, sir.
Well, here are the rules of the big game. The first rule is all swearing will be beat. Also, each table lasts exactly 150 hands. The action pre-flop is pot limit, then no limit after the flop. Blinds are 2 and 400 with a $100 ante, all of which is paid by the player on the button. Every player begins with at least 100 grand but can reload for up to $500,000.
Meanwhile, Phil Hellmuth has just had to put $5 in the swear jar.
You guys want to do a round of straddles?
I'm in.
Round of straddles, Phil? You okay with that? All right. We're gonna do a round of straddles. So when you're big blind, just put a straddle in. Good to go. It's good for you because it creates, you know, bigger pots so you can just ship, Andre. Andre 3000 ship.
Daniel just compared our loose cannon to a member of the hip-hop group Outkast.
Phil is raised to 3,000. Andre 3,000 folded.
Andre needs to shake it like a Polaroid picture.
Oh, I was wondering when you were going to get that in there.
Take that money.
Dang, I really would prefer a little action. But I'll take it. A win's good too, right?
I don't
I
defend.
didn't really want to get re-raised.
I
but
had
didn't
king,
mind
queen, and
calls.
diamonds, but when you raise in that spot, I know that.
Daniel would sooner eat a veal parmesan while driving a Hummer than he would fold king, queen to Phil Hellmuth in that spot.
Appetizing thought. Phil Hellmuth straddles his hand, so the action begins on the cannon. Andre ace 4 folds. Dani Stern.
Wow,
He's
I can't
out.
believe that.
Prahlad on the button. Big slick.
Prahlad's on the button, but ace-king looks pretty good from any position.
I saw you fold queens one time and laughed while I saw it. It was the funniest thing ever. Guy just made a standard raise, and you just folded the queens.
Raising to 3,600. Pocket nines for Eugene Katchalov.
When you're stacked this deep in a cash game, it's pretty rare to fold a pair to a single raise pre-flop, so Eugene is either thinking about calling or re-raising.
There's the
There we
re-raise.
go, a little straddle action. Never hurt nobody.
So now action folds around back to the original raiser.
Eugene's got to be sweating the 4-bet just a little bit. Looks like Prahlad is seriously considering it.
He just calls.
By not 4-betting, Prahlad is basically giving Eugene credit for having a hand most of the time in this spot.
Deuce 7-10, all hearts.
Neither player has a heart, but that doesn't mean they won't affect the play of this hand. Eugene's out in front. It's not such a bad flop for him.
Katchalov fires 12,000.
Prahlad's got no pair and no heart.
And now no more hand left.
I meant to say Prahlad had no heart draw. As far as I can tell, Prahlad has the heart of a lion, a vegan lion.
Well, Katchalov is now the king of the jungle. He's up nearly 63 grand. The big game is just getting going. Much more from Las Vegas coming your way after this. Welcome back. One of the young guns we've been watching this week learned all about the small blind when he was a small fry. Dad played poker. His wife does too. It's a family affair for Prahlad Friedman.
I'm Prahlad Friedman, and I'm from Malibu, Cali, the Boo. Prahlad, P-R-A-H-L-A-D, and it's a Sanskrit name from East India. It means one who brings joy, so I try. Basically, I got that name because, you know, I kind of joke about it. I'm like, I had hippie parents. If I don't want to get into the whole thing, I'm just like, I had hippie parents, you know? I grew up kind of meditating. I've been a vegetarian my whole life, a vegan for probably the last 10 years. That's just how I was raised. So that's why it's kind of weird to think that now I'm a professional gambler when I go from, you know, meditating and just the whole liberal upbringing to now being a professional gambler. It doesn't really fit, but that's where I ended up. Poker started when my father won $11,000 for a tournament, a lowball tournament at the Oaks. And I was like, wow, $11,000 just sitting around playing poker? I couldn't believe it. And back then it was like $11,000 was a lot of money. So I was like, Pops, man, you gotta show me the way, you know? Like, how do you play? So he gave me a couple books, showed me the basics about the small and big blind and whatnot. And I just kind of went nuts with it. I was like, wow, this is crazy. And that's kind of my personality. If you just keep at it, then usually you succeed. And I think that goes with all forms of life.
Prahlad, the new age poker player, is quite the dichotomy. Even that last statement, keep at it and you'll succeed. It's both inspirational and keeps fish in the game.
Well, this game continues with the loose cannon on the straddle. So Dani Stern first to act. And he folds. Prahlad. He's going to sit it out. Eugene Katchalov, ace-5 offsuit on the button.
I've got an ace. I'm in position. Good enough for me.
Raised to 2,500. King-6 suited for Daniel in the small blind.
King-6 suited is going to be better than almost any random hand.
A re-raise to 8,000. Phil folds. Queen-6 for the straddler. He folds.
We've seen Eugene call a raise in position with a weak ace before, but this is a re-raise. Daniel's assuming a raise from Eugene on the button is any random hand.
Eugene folds.
Katchalov lays down the best hand, but it's a hand that can get you into a lot of trouble.
All right.
Hated folding that.
You did? You had a good hand? Super solid?
No, not really.
Super solid is a good way to describe Eugene Katchalov. He's first in the three following categories: VPIP, pre-flop raising, and folding the 3-bet. Looks like Daniel's picked up on the fact that Eugene's playing and raising a lot of hands, but is folding to most 3-bets. Daniel doesn't mind getting 4-bet with a hand like King-6 suited because it's easy to let go.
All these internet kids, 4-bet, 5-bet, 6-betting. Right, Phil? Right, huh?
Phil's just thinking about how he would have gotten away with being the greatest in the world if it weren't for those pesky kids.
Okay, Scoob. Action folds around to Daniel Negreanu, Queen-5 suited. Raises to 3,000.
Daniel's raising his position, which also just happens to connect with the big blind of the least experienced player.
Ace-6 offsuit for Andre Capella, the 76-year-old online qualifier.
Hey, maybe we're going to see Andre take it down pre-flop.
Raises to 6,000.
Take that.
Woohoo! 6, so I got to call 3,000 more, huh? Whoo, boy. All righty then. Don't shoot me if I bust him.
Daniel really can't fold for just 3 more.
You got chattering chips.
I do, yeah.
8-7-5, 2 diamonds on the flop.
Andre's flopped a strong draw, but Daniel's flopped a pair. Not sure if the gold miner is going to have the carrots to take Daniel off his hand.
Andre bets 5,000.
I can't see how much. You got still 4 grays, right? Just move your left hand if you don't mind. Okay, thanks. So 25. Okay, 5,000, right? There you go.
Daniel calls.
5,000 was a pretty small bet. He's going to have to fire much bigger if he wants Daniel to fold.
3 of clubs on the turn.
The 3 doesn't complete any draws. Let's see if the race car driver can shake and bake.
Another bet of 5,000.
Yeah, this is fun. I like this. Don't you? It's kind of cute. 5,000, right? Okay. I got a lot of cards I could catch, you know, so I don't think I can fold for that price.
There's the call.
Come on, we need like a 4, 9, a 6, something like that.
Daniel just called out all of Andre's outs except for the ace.
And of course, it missed on the river.
Not a bad read.
I'll check.
Andre checks.
I check.
Andre realizes bets were just a more expensive way of checking.
Pair of 5s. Phew.
No luck on this end of the table.
No aggression either. Andre played that hand way too passively. He's gonna have to fire bigger if he ever wants to get out of this hole.
The loose cannon is bleeding chips. Medic! We'll tell you if we can find one after this. Welcome back to Las Vegas, Nevada, home of the big game. Quick reminder that stats for every hand of the big game, as well as bonus footage and uncensored clips deemed too hot for TV, can all be found on the website.
Back in the game here, our race car driver, Loose Cannon, is almost on an empty tank. He's down to his last 16,000.
I'm gonna fold.
Action folds around to Phil. Ace Queen offsuit. Raise to 3,000. Andre folds. Dani Stern pocket sixes. Calls. Prahlad Friedman 9-4. See ya.
Last time these two tangled, Hellmuth popped out of his chair and incurred several FCC violations.
The flop, deuce, trade, jack, 2 diamonds. Stern checks. Phil fires 3,500.
Dani probably isn't too afraid of this board, but he checked to the razor.
Now he calls.
2 4s.
Not a bad read from Phil.
9 of spades on the turn. Dani checks. Hellmuth makes it 11,000 to go.
Seems like Phil is destined to not repeat history.
You don't think I'm going to check ace king again, do you? I got to bluff you one time.
Phil's pretty much telling the truth. It's so straightforward that maybe it's misleading. Ugh, makes my head hurt.
Well, let's see if Dani can figure this one out. Stern folds the best hand, and Phil takes down the pot.
Would have liked to call there.
You would have liked to call?
Yeah, 23,000 on the river.
Joe, is Phil changing gears on us?
Everyone thinks Phil's a nit, so he's changing things up a bit, and it's working so far. Despite the fact that he's had a few blow-ups, his chip stack is doing quite well.
He can't straddle.
Action folds over to Phil.
And he'd only have 399
He
million.
limps in.
Now he's limping all of a sudden.
Andre does as well.
I don't know if Andre's playing like Phil or if Phil's playing like Andre.
Dani Stern thinking about it.
I'm sure he wouldn't mind isolating Andre here.
$2,400.
There's a raise to 2,400. Friedman looking at ace 6 suited.
Prahlad's got a suited ace, but it's a weak one, and he's out of position with 4 players still to act behind him.
He folds, so does Katchalov, and so does Phil, but not Andre Capella.
Not much.
You're back. You got their 12 back, right?
Andre's only got 12K behind and not much of a chance of hitting his flush since we know 6 spades have been folded.
No spades on the flop, which comes king, queen, deuce.
Andre's got second pair.
King, queen, deuce.
Andre shoves, and Dani folds.
I think Andre missed some value there. If Andre had checked, he might have gotten at least a few thousand out of Dani, but instead he donk bets or bets into the player with the pre-flop lead. His 33% donk bet rate is the highest at the table. The rest of the table knows he's only doing it with the goods, and therefore he hasn't been paid off even once.
How many gears were on those race cars that you had? What was the highest one? 4? Okay, try that one.
I just tried it.
And it worked.
Daniel suggesting that Andre shift gears. I think he did, but he forgot to keep his hands on the wheel. Also, his left turn signal has been on for an hour.
Well, he just slammed on the brakes here, opting to fold. Dani Stern is playing, raising to 1,500. Ace 7 for Prahlad Friedman. It's been awfully quiet tonight and will remain so. Eugene Katchalov is suited, but out. So's Daniel. And Phil's in.
Couldn't resist it.
They've got the same hand, but Phil's the slight favorite, suited.
9-4-7, 2 spades on the flop. Phil checks.
Big flop for both players. Huge flop for Phil. He's free rolling spades.
Stern fires 2,600. Phil calls.
That's what we call a snap call, kid.
Did anyone else hear that?
That's what we call a really cheesy line, kid.
9 of diamonds on the turn. Hellmuth checks.
Looks like Donnie's thinking about a semi-bluff.
Makes it 7,000.
Dani has made a semi-bluff, but since Phil's got the spade draw to go with his straight draw, he's got even more equity and more incentive to semi-bluff right back at him.
How much more do you have left there? That's good. I can see it. Yeah.
Sounds like Phil might have a big bet in mind.
I'm going to raise it up. 16 more.
Hellmuth raises to 23,000 and Stern quickly folds.
That's what they call a semi-bluff, kid.
Well, the man with 11 World Series of Poker bracelets to his name is being a big old bully at the big game. Will that continue? Find out after this. Welcome back to the big game in Las Vegas. Action begins with Dani Stern. Jack 10 suited. And a raise under the gun to 1,500. Prahlad Friedman. 10-9 suited. Re-raises to 4,000.
Suited connectors versus suited connectors.
Uh-oh, kings for Daniel.
Let's see how he plays it.
Here comes Daniel.
Just called.
Cheap enough. What the hell? A little snap, snap.
Donnie's in two.
Here comes Daniel.
I'm pretty surprised to see Daniel overcall the flop against two players. He's in position, but even still with a big pair, you want to isolate.
So 3 to the flop. 6-8-9, 2 clubs.
Donnie's flopped the World's Fair. He's got overs, he's open-ended, and a flush draw.
And he checks to Friedman.
Prahlad's got top pair and a gut shot. Daniel does have the best hand, but the stats say it's not likely to stay that way.
Friedman bets 7,000.
Let's see if Daniel's still confident he has the best hand.
He just calls.
Again, this is a pretty odd call from Daniel since this board is sopping wet. Maybe he's already in cheap showdown mode. With two players still in the hand, Donnie's going to want to get some more money in while he's still got a lot of equity. The question is how much?
There's a raise to 32,000.
This is almost like a post-flop squeeze because not only does Prahlad have to worry about Dani, he's got to worry about Daniel left to act behind him too. This move has got to look awfully strong to Prahlad. Donnie's just check-raised two people, which makes the strength of the move that much stronger. Prahlad's got a pair and a gut shot, though he may be wise to the fact that clubs could be dead to him. Meanwhile, Daniel could be wondering what he's let happen to his kings.
Fold.
I had you. I should have re-raised you before the flop. Okay, you got it.
Technically, you still had him.
So you didn't have your favorite hand.
I had king.
That's right, Dani. He had kings. How do you feel about yourself now?
But right now, Phil Hellmuth is the one wearing the crown at this table. He is up 66,000. Eugene Katchalov is holding strong. Meanwhile, Joe, our loose cannon, Andre continues to slide the wrong direction.
Andre's in trouble. His passive play has caused him to slowly bleed away chips.
If Andre doesn't turn a profit, he's going to walk away empty-handed. Once again, he's Joe Stapleton. I'm Chris Rose. And Joe, it's that time again. We're about halfway through the session, so let's take a look at our table stats.
The first thing I always look at is VPIP, and I'm shocked that Phil Hellmuth leads the table playing 46% of the hands, followed by Eugene Katchalov playing 45%. Our loose cannon Andre is next, playing 41% of hands, but he's playing those hands extremely passively.
Hellmuth is playing a lot of hands, and he seems to be really bullying this table. I did just say Phil Hellmuth. Who is this guy?
I'm sure the rest of the table would like to know. We heard about Hellmuth's new motto a few weeks ago, Positive Exercise Moment Meditation, or PEM. I guess he's got a new, more aggressive strategy these days, too. Let's take a closer look at some of the stats. Our sample size is small, of course, but so far in this session, Hellmuth has been taking the lead quite a bit, and it's been paying off. He leads the table in both 3-betting and attempt to steal percentages, and he's second in pre-flop raising and aggression factor. He's our biggest winner at the moment, up 66K.
All right, Joe, what about the three young guns at this table? Who has caught your eye?
Actually, Chris, it's the youngin' who's losing the most who really impresses me. Dani Stern's been playing very aggressively, but running terribly. Let's take a look at some of the key stats. We just saw that Dani is playing 30% of hands, and he's raising 24% of the time. That means that when he's in there, he's usually the pre-flop raiser. After the flop, he's not slowing down. His aggression factor is 5 times higher than anybody else at the table, and he's check raising almost twice as much as any other player. If the cards start falling his way, I expect him to drag some huge pots.
All right, Joe, let's focus on our loose cannon, Andre. He's having a tough time out there. If you could pinpoint his biggest problem, what would it be?
He's simply playing far too passively. Let's take a look at our table's pre-flop raising percentages. Most of the table is raising about a quarter of the time, but Andre's raising less than 3% of his hands pre-flop. Poker's a pretty tough game when you're never the aggressor. Andre, you're a former race car driver. Please, for the love of God, hammer on that clutch and change gears.
Action begins with Eugene Katchalov. He caught a pocket pair.
And a straight draw.
And raises to 1,500. King-queen offsuit for Daniel.
Before the flop?
Calls.
Maybe.
Suited connectors for Phil.
I can't just call here. How much can I make it?
Cap would be, pot would be 7,200.
Just calls.
Can't just call.
I can't just call. I think it was a horrible just call.
Not sure what kind of mind games Phil's playing, but it's absolutely the kind of hand you can just call with.
Dani Stern's out. Prahlad Friedman.
With all this just calling, Prahlad probably can't fold this, but he's out of position, so we're not too likely to see a re-raise.
There's the call. So forward to the flop.
No one's a huge favorite headed into this flop.
7-9-9. Stern would have flopped the full house.
Oh, look, and he's holding back vomit.
Friedman checks. Katchalov checks.
Katchalov checks the best hand.
Did you do anything, Daniel?
No, not yet.
Now he did. Bets 4,000.
Phil's got a gut shot, but it's to the low end.
Phil folds. So does Friedman. So does Katchalov.
This was a great just call.
I probably should have re-raised. I was thinking about it.
Before this hand?
Yes. Now, especially knowing what the flop was, I should
Played
have
so
re-raised.
bad that hand. I was re-raising Eugene, but I don't know what you getting in there changed.
Changed everything, you know. I had the,
I don't know.
so you just saw me slow play kings. You think maybe a hoo ha ha.
Will the mind games continue at the big game? We will find out right after this. Welcome back to Las Vegas. Alongside Joe Stapleton, I'm Chris Rose. The loose cannon was staked 100 grand and has lost most of it. Now into something Andre Capella actually found. A little gold nugget he mined on his very own.
I actually got over an ounce of gold by just picking it out. I used to use a glass bread pan to look under the water with. I decided that, boy, this is serious business. There's really enough gold here to go after it. So I actually took a geology course to find out more about it, where it came from and why it was there, and then really got into it. This is a gold nugget that I have that I put on my cards when I play, hoping it may draw a little gold. And maybe it won't, and maybe it will. But anyway, it's a very nice nugget, worth about probably $800–900 in gold value, and probably a couple thousand in just nugget value, because there are very few nuggets, especially nice shaped ones. There's the old saying out there that if you want to become a poker player and you want to go be a gold miner, get rich first.
Well, Andre's a long way from rich tonight, but 3 or 4 double ups and he's right back in this.
The 76-year-old is stuck over 78 grand so far. Action on Daniel. King, queen suited.
No, not. I'm learning, though. I'm learning from the crazy internet kids. So what happens then? Then I don't even...
I don't know. It's a clash of two worlds.
Daniel raises to 1,200.
I'm melding the two and trying to...
Now, this hand's a good call.
Yes, excellent.
I don't know if Phil's lying or if he genuinely believes that.
Jack 10 offsuit for the loose cannon who calls. Ace 5 for Dani Stern. He's out. Friedman, pocket 4s. Calls. Katchalov, queen 7.
This isn't a great hand, especially out of position, but he's getting a good price, and the loose cannon is in the hand and ready to ship.
So Eugene does make the call. A near family pot.
We've got 4 players who all want to capitalize on that loose cannon short stack.
7-7-9, Katchalov flops trips. Goes check, 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 check over to the cannon.
Looks like Andre's considering semi-bluffing his gut shot.
Okay.
He checks. 8 of diamonds on the turn.
Bink, Andre makes his straight.
Friedman checks.
Eugene's hoping someone's now got enough of a piece of this that he can start to build a pot.
Katchalov fires 3,600. Daniel
You'd only lose
folds.
against like the really
Phil's
great
out.
players. That was less than 1.
All right, Andre, this is crucial. If you think you have the best hand, raise.
3 more.
How's a min raise?
36 more.
Guess it still counts.
Friedman folds.
Can I see how much chips you have? Can you just look at your hand? Thank you.
If Andre had shoved, Eugene probably would have snap called. A min raise looks stronger, and while I don't think there's any way Eugene can fold, this weak raise does give him a little slack to get away from it. But as it stands, I don't really see that happening with a hand as strong as 3 7s and Andre's short stack.
Katchalov raises to 33,000.
That's probably all I got, right?
The cannon's all in with the best of it.
What's going on here?
What do you got? 3 7s?
What do we got, Andre?
Jack 10.
Straight! That's what I'm talking about. He can handle it. He's rich. Don't worry about it. Nobody feels bad for him whatsoever. No one in America.
Doesn't even look like Eugene feels bad for Eugene. Andre just needs to dodge a queen, a 7, an 8, or a 9.
The river, the 6 of hearts. The cannon sticking around.
One more double up, and now you got some gravy. See, the key here is to get you some gravy.
Well, Andre's stack is severely watered down despite that double up.
We're more than halfway through our session, and this is the first hand our loose cannon has won out of 6 showdowns. He's still at least a double up away from Profit Town, and he's going to need to continue this aggression if he wants to get paid off.
Are we doing a round of straddles?
Yeah, round of straddles.
I didn't agree to that, but he wants to straddle. It's like Doyle said, if they want to straddle, they can straddle.
Okay, how about 4 of us will do it, and then you can show your nitty side and embarrass yourself once again on national TV for trying to shoot the edge of all time against us young people, despite the fact that you have $400 million in the bank and under your mattress that you just lay on, but you can't give any action. What is it, 3,000?
I gave some action. Every show.
For the record, Phil Hellmuth does not sleep on $400 million. He sleeps on 400 million thread count sheets.
So it's Friedman against Negreanu as we go to the flop.
Couple of vegans.
4 deuce 4.
Couple of vegans, that's why they flop nothing with a face.
Very good. Friedman fires 5,000.
Continuation bet.
Daniel calls.
It's pretty tough to flop only 1 overcard with a pair of 3s. Daniel might think to the best hand.
9 of clubs on the turn.
It's going to be a tough card to bluff at.
Friedman checks. Daniel checks. 7 of clubs on the river. Friedman checks.
Check.
Daniel checks. And Daniel wins.
Pair's a pair. Would have had to give you 3 barrels on that one. Yeah, I thought about it. If he barrels 3 times, I guess he's just gonna call, because what the heck?
So Daniel picks up a pot worth 18 grand, but when we come back, we'll relive a hand that didn't go as well for Kid Poker. Stick around. Welcome back to Las Vegas. When young and old collide in the movies, you get the 40-year-old Brad Pitt and Benjamin Button. When it happens on the felt, you get some cool poker. Over here, you got Phil and Daniel, and in one hand earlier tonight, Negreanu went at it with 2 of the young guns in Stern and Friedman. Let's let Dani explain his role in that hand as we go behind the poker face.
Up until this point in the game, I had been down probably about 50,000, and I opened under the gun with Jack 10 of clubs to 1,500, and Prahlad re-raised me. And he doesn't really need a strong hand necessarily to re-raise me here. You know, he definitely can have aces or kings or queens, you know, a very strong hand, but he can also be semi-bluffing. And Daniel flat calls. And again, Daniel doesn't necessarily need a super strong hand to flat call there in position. He can have a pretty wide range of hands too. And it comes back to me, and I make a pretty easy call. And the flop comes 6-8-9 with 2 clubs, which is about as good as it gets for me without actually hitting a made hand. And I decide to check. Now, I could decide to bet out on this flop, but the problem is I might just get called in both spots. And then I'm sort of stuck in a spot where I only have jack high, and if I don't hit my hand, I can't win the pot. So I want to sort of set myself up so I give myself a chance to actually win the pot right there on the flop instead of having to see the turn or the river. So I check, and Prahlad bets 7,000, and Daniel calls, and I raise to 32,000. Now at this point, for either of them to continue, they need a pretty strong hand because my range of hands that I can be raising on this flop is at the very least 2 pair or monster draws. And if I have a monster draw, and even if they have something like an overpair like queens or kings, it's only a coin flip for them, which is best case scenario. But if I have something like pocket 6s or pocket 8s or pocket 9s, something like pocket queens or pocket kings is doing really bad against my hand. So I'm basically representing a very strong hand, but at the same time, I have the ability to actually catch up and win if they decide not to believe me. And with my hand, which is only jack high at this point, but still has a very strong drawing potential, it's best to turn into a semi-bluff. And that's what I did, and they ended up both folding, obviously better hands than I had.
Dani did get them both to fold better hands. Daniel folded pocket kings, in fact. Prahlad folded 10-9 of hearts. And Phil Hellmuth folded his arms and quietly whispered to himself, "I love you."
Dani Stern straddles. Friedman folds his ace. Katchalov, ace-deuce suited. Raises to 3,000.
With the straddle on, this pot's getting big already, even though he's in position 5-9, doesn't play very well post-flop.
I had so many ideas.
Phil folds. Capella folds. Queen 8 for Stern.
Dani straddled, so he's bought pre-flop position. And doggone it, he's going to use it.
Let's see if it's a call or a raise. It is a re-raise to 10-2.
This re-raise looks awfully strong considering how Dani's been playing so far. He's not playing a lot of pots, and he's out of position. Eugene is in position with a hand that can make some disguised hands. He's also probably considering that Dani might finally be getting out of line. Still, this would be a fairly loose call.
Katchalov makes the call.
Or maybe it's just because Eugene loves to play hands.
The flop. Ace, Queen 8.
This is an amazing flop for Dani. Eugene's made a costly second best hand here with top pair, and he probably won't be able to lay down a pair of aces to a bet here.
Actions on Stern. Fires 14,000.
This is a decent sized bet. The pot's already bloated because of the straddle. It's a 2/3 bet. This is how the internet kids do it. It's aggressive and confusing.
Katchalov calls.
And if you keep it consistent, it masks any sizing tells you might have.
The turn. The Queen of Diamonds fills up Stern.
Just for this one hand, we're going to call Dani Stern Danny Tanner in honor of the full house. 3 queens, DJ, Stephanie, and Michelle.
On my TiVo, by the way.
Typically filling up here would kill Dani's action, but in this case, Eugene's picked up the nut flush draw, so it's going to be that much harder for him to fold.
Stern. That's 31,000.
A lot of the time, top pair is going to be good here, and besides, he's got outs to the flush. But we know that Eugene's flush draw is no good, and he's drawing dead to an ace.
Eugene calls.
Dani has to consider that Eugene may have ace-queen, but that would mean all 4 queens are in play.
The pot is now up over $111,000. The river, the 10 of clubs.
Doesn't improve Eugene's hand at all. Dani's trying to think of the biggest value bet he can make. He has less than the size of the pot left in his stack, so I wouldn't be surprised to see a shove.
Come on.
There it is. Dani all in.
Now Eugene's in a tough spot because he's invested a lot of money in this pot. It's only about a third of the pot to call, and Eugene's stuck with only 1 pair. Eugene's getting less than 3-1 on his money. Dani has to be bluffing more than 25% of the time to make this call profitable.
You know, if you have a prediction, you can go over there and talk quietly.
I want in on this.
Like these guys needed an excuse to go talk to Amanda.
I think ace queen versus ace king. Huh? I think Dani has ace queen. And I think Eugene has ace king.
Ace king?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't think the 10 affected anything?
No.
Ace king?
I think Eugene has ace king.
I like your calling ace queen.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I like that. I don't know about Eugene.
He might have ace jack suited. He might have ace jack.
He has to call him with ace king every time. Ace jack. I think he has to call him with ace king.
Yeah. Just in case he's steaming.
Yeah.
Eugene makes the right decision.
Okay, what'd you guys have this hand?
Good for the game. Wait, give him an option.
What did you have?
Good for the game.
What, you guys have a bet on it?
No, we had predictions.
Well, with that win, Dani Stern is now in Profitville. Phil Hellmuth, Daniel Negreanu also had solid nights.
Eugene Katchalov is only down a C note. Prahlad Friedman continues to have not such a great week, and Andre had some spots to pick up some chips but failed to capitalize.
Well, our loose cannon Andre didn't make up any ground tonight. Meanwhile, the young guns at the table are starting to get busy. How will it all play out? Come back tomorrow night to see the battle continue. I'm Amanda Leatherman saying goodbye for now, and remember, if you've got the cash and the guts, there's always a seat open at the big game. See you next time.
For Joe Stapleton, I'm Chris Rose. See you tomorrow night.
You guys are over here chatting the whole time.
Chatting, yeah. Messing you up, huh?
Messing me up. Look at this Buddha.
Yeah, you like my Buddha?
It's so heavy.
He's been lucky. It's been on the table.
Yeah, that's right. How much you up, Phil?
Like 60 or something. $60,000.
The preceding was a presentation from PokerStars.com.